Let's talk a little bit about the pre-show here. On Heat, we've got Val Venus, the porn star, beating Joey Abs. Get a little interference from the Main Street Posse. Then we've got the pimp, the Godfather, beating Meat. Everybody knows that he beat Meat. Before the match, this is a real story. That's on Sunday Night Heat on the WWF in 1999. Meat had relations with Terry Runnels, and he's spent. He's so physically exhausted, he can barely stand up. And in that weakened condition, he has to go out here and wrestle. So, of course, Godfather beats him. Buddy, what are we doing? Pimps in the first match, or porn stars in the first match, pimps in the second match. A guy
Too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's overload. It's like one sensational storyline. If you got one, well, then two will make it that much better, and that's not always the case. So it's just too much.
It feels
too much
oversexed.
Yeah, too much of the same shit.
By the way, when Meat loses, Terry says he's not good at either one. Goodness gracious. Then we get a pretty important moment in WWE history, and I want to ask you about this. There's this shocking interview from Triple H. This is the one where he's on the couch. He's got the black leather hat backwards. He's talking to you, and he's cutting a serious promo here. And this is one of the better promos of his career. It's a coming out party of sorts, and he's talking about some work shoot stuff, I suppose. He's crying about the 1996 King of the Ring tournament, saying he was supposed to win, but his friends did their curtain call at Madison Square Garden. He's the only one who got punished. He's blaming you and management for holding him down. I like this promo and this piece of business. What can you tell us about this really important promo in the history of the Triple H character?
Well, I think that he was telling the truth. I think that he was held back. I think people, Vince and company, the guys surrounding Vince were not sure of how successful the Triple H heel character was going to be. Some of us, and I include myself in that, some of us had no reservations because we knew that he was very likely going to be our next big star. And pro wrestling is driven so much by its heels and villains that you always got to have those positions strong and filled. And I thought that Paul Levesque was going to be the next big thing. And lo and behold, he was.
I saw something the other day that jumped off the page to me. If Silva our producer, can throw that photo back up there of Triple H on the couch with you. Someone said online recently that this was Triple H basically stealing, maybe borrowing is a better word, the franchise persona from Shane Douglas in ECW. And I'm not suggesting that you used to watch ECW television on the regular in 97, 98, 99. But the hair, the promo, the delivery style, the whole thing, I've seen people online say that, boy, Triple H was heavily influenced in this era by the franchise character that Shane Douglas presented in ECW. Did you ever consider that? Have you ever thought of that or heard of that crossover?
I have heard about it vaguely, Conrad, but I'm not sure how accurate that assessment is. I just thought it was a no-brainer. He was the next great heel, and that fact was proved out. He had an amazing run as that amazing character, and he drew a lot of money for WWE. He established himself as a main player. So I never picked up on the connectivity between Triple H and Shane Douglas. I can see how a point could be made, certainly, but I don't know. That never really struck me as an issue, as a point of emphasis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I take personal issue with it. I love the franchise character. I loved what Triple H became and did, but I never even thought about the comparison or saw the similarities until it was pointed out. And then I was like, okay, I could see that influence. I mean, we know once Triple H becomes a top guy, he certainly leaned into Harley Race. I mean, he grew the mutton chops, he wore the purple. The whole presentation was very Harley Race at times, and of course, he was heavily influenced by Ric Flair as well. But I just never even considered the Shane Douglas potential there.
Me neither. Me neither. I can see how the point could be made, and quite honestly, I can see how that point could be made. But it never jumped out at me like, oh, he's channeling Shane Douglas in his character. I never saw that.
Well, this is the shoot interview, if you will, where he first calls himself The Game. What'd you think of the name The Game?
Loved it. Loved it. I thought it was great, and why I loved it because it worked. It worked, Conrad, and that name stuck with him. It was a cool name. It wasn't overly gimmicky. I loved it. I thought it was great. He's such a student of the game, which is we're seeing today in his leadership role in WWE.
Absolutely.
We're seeing how smart he really is and great vision. So but I never had that issue. I never put the two together, Shane Douglas and Triple H. I never put those two together, like you're saying. You didn't either.
No, it never crossed my mind. But when it was pointed out, I thought, okay, I could see why people would think that. And I'm not saying that he did. I'm just saying I never even considered the similarities until then.
Me neither. Me neither.
I want to ask you about the name The Game. There's a rumor that allegedly The Game was going to be a name and a nickname and a persona that Owen Hart might have used. I'd never heard that until we started doing research for this. And I guess there was a suggestion that once upon a time that was an idea for Owen Hart. Do you remember ever hearing that?
No.
Yeah.
Never did. I use that analogy many times in commentary, The Game, and then it became real. You know, sometimes when you say something often enough with a significant frequency, they become reality. And I think that's the case with this situation, is that Triple H and The Game name became a reality. And one of the reasons that stuff works is because it worked. It just did. It worked. And he lived up to his name. And I don't know what I'd do to go back and retrace those steps of Triple H and The Game name and his persona and things of that nature. It just all seemed to fit to me and fit very well.